Hello and welcome. This is Pam. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the very best diet when you want to recover from multiple sclerosis and other chronic diseases. I'm not talking about living with the disease. I'm talking about recovering, getting your health and your life back. And I'm going to share with you a proven diet, and I'm going to share with you a lot of different meal ideas of what I have used and what the wellness champions eat, also different swaps, and some amazing successes from our students, our wellness champion students that are following this diet so that you can see the possibilities for you. If we haven't met, my name is Pam Bartha. I'm the author of Become a Wellness Champion and the founder of Live Disease Free. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis over 35 years ago. By the grace of God, I learned early on that I was dealing with infections. I didn't know exactly which ones. We thought Candida was the main culprit back in the day, but now we've learned a lot more about the types of infections that cause multiple sclerosis and other chronic diseases. I was really fortunate that when I was first diagnosed, I learned about this, so I decided to take a different path. I decided early on not to follow standard of care, which gave me no hope. The experts told me I would be completely disabled and I'd be in a wheelchair, and that didn't sound too great for me. And so when I started reading books by medical doctors that were saying that what I was dealing with was different types of infections, chronic infections in the body, that really tweaked my curiosity. And so I decided to go down a different path. And again, by the grace of God, I'm so grateful that I have been able to live MS free for 35 years now. We just had a beautiful family wedding. I have 8 grandchildren now, very different than when I had 2 very small children. Now I had another child after MS, and now I have 8 grandchildren. So it is so much fun to run after them, to keep up with them, to dance with them on the dance floor, to do all the fun things, to be active with them, jumping on the trampoline. And this diet is something that you can start implementing immediately. So I'm going to give you some different ideas, like if you have certain conditions to be cautious about, and it's literally only just because you're dealing with parasites, and you just have to make some little adjustments to make sure that you can just follow the diet properly and have the successes. But when people follow the Live Disease Free diet, they start noticing, one of the first things they start noticing is that their bladder function improves. They're not getting up 5 or 6 times during the night. They might get up once or twice during the night. Then they start sleeping better. Then they have more energy. They have more strength. Their cognitive function improves. They have better memory, and the brain fog starts to go away. Pain starts to decrease. Spasticity will start to subside. It's really quite shocking how many improvements will start just by eating low carb, which is the Live Disease Free diet. And our diet is not just low carb. It's really designed because it really understands where our students are at. It understands we're dealing with a parasitic infestation. It understands what stimulates the parasites, what makes them more quiet, and our goal is to definitely make them more quiet. So we can have a ton of symptom improvements in as little as 2 weeks when we follow this diet. It can start even within a week. So this is not something you have to pay for. I have all of the guidelines for the Live Disease Free diet on our website. You can just go to livediseasefree.com. Under research in the main menu, you will see the guidelines there. I'm just going to talk about a few things. I'm not going to go into great detail. I'm just going to give you some ideas. If you have some questions, go ahead and type them in the question box. But the successes, the improvements in symptoms we can have in as little as 2 weeks would be far more than we would ever experience with the disease-modifying immunosuppressive drugs that we're supposed to take. One student that is in the program, she shared that she started the diet this year in May, on the 15th of May, and her tremors stopped almost immediately. Her tremors stopped almost immediately from following this diet. And she was able to discontinue taking the MS drugs. She worked with her doctor, of course. We don't do things like that, recklessly. You have to be careful, like certain medications, you have to work with your pharmacist and your doctor to come off, but amazing. And of course, she's done a lot more. I'm just focusing right now on what a few students have shared just about the diet. So like, you don't have to just, if you want to join and be part of the Live Disease-Free plan, where I help you to build a treatment plan, I help you to figure out how to treat these different parasites you're dealing with. You don't have to wait to start feeling better until you are starting to treat. The diet already can be life-changing. So like literally we can have life-changing improvements in as little as 1 to 2 weeks just by reducing our carbs enough. Another student shared that the edema, so these are all current students, like this year, just within the last few months. So her edema improved already just by lowering her carbs in her lower legs, her ankles, and her feet within the week. So this isn't 2 weeks, just within the week. And her husband noticed this change and was really encouraging her to start exercising, right? Because like when we're really sick and we're swollen and we're in pain and we're dealing with spasticity, it's really hard to exercise. And we're exhausted because a lot of times we're getting up through the night. But then once we start sleeping and we start getting energy, then we start to want to be active again. So exciting. Another student who just joined just about a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago by now, she started following our diet and she started feeling stronger. She was able to start walking without her cane. Before she joined the Live Disease-Free plan, she was no longer using her cane. And she's working out again. Like she's starting to work out again. So she still has the infections, she still has the parasites, but they are much more quiet. The inflammation starts to go down and she's already feeling stronger. She's not getting up through the night. She was getting up multiple times throughout the night and now she can sleep. Maybe she gets up once during the night. And that, of course, is helping her to feel stronger and helping all of the other symptoms too. So it all works together. But how incredible is that? Not using her cane by just following the diet. So is her mobility perfect? No, but this is just by decreasing carbs. And, maybe she has to use her cane a little bit, but she basically said she's not using her cane anymore. So that's huge. And then another student, the last one I just wanted to share, she is just on her second treatment cycle. And before she joined the program, she was bedridden, like not able to do anything, just spent most of her day in bed because she felt so horrible. The doctors didn't know what to do with her. They put her on psychiatric medications and she knew she had parasites. Before she joined the program, she was actually starting to treat on her own. A lot of people are desperate and they're just starting to try different things and it wasn't working. She was passing some worms, so she knew she had parasites, but she was still really, really sick and in bed. And literally just by following this diet, within, let's say, a week, she was able to be out of bed during the day after 10 years. That is so huge. Like, I cannot stress enough, like, how significant this is for you. You have to just take this free information, this free wisdom that I've given you and start to implement it and then report back to me and tell me how it has changed your life. So 10 years bedridden, started to change her diet, started to decrease the food to the parasites enough that she was able to come out of bed and she could start to read a book. She had such terrible cognitive function, she could not focus on reading a book. So those are like the first two things that she shared. Well, now that she's only on her second treatment cycle and she's passed many, many, many worms that she has shared with me, and this is what she said. My husband can't find me half of the day. I'm at meetings, I'm gardening, I'm planting, I'm playing piano, literacy, tutoring, and signing up for ballroom dancing. Yes, I still have my dance shoes. So she sent a picture of her in her dance shoes and her feet over some music, like so incredibly cute. And she sent me a video of her balancing on a Bosu ball that's upside down, so you know that it's going to be wobbling around. She's balancing on one foot. She was standing in the doorway in case she needed to grab herself, but she was literally holding on to nothing and balancing herself on one foot. Like, is she having fun or what, right? So of course she got out of bed with the diet, but she still had to treat the parasites, and she still is treating the parasites. And that is why she is gardening, planting, playing piano. She's back to tutoring, literacy, and she's going to start ballroom dancing, and she was boogie boarding with her husband. Like, she's just having so much fun. And that's what happens when you get your life back. You start to do things that you never ever thought you ever would do. It's so exciting. You get this second shot of life. And then her words of wisdom just this week, she said, after years of antibiotics, sinus infections, and swollen eye bags and eyelids, they're going, and almost gone. She said, be attentive. Today and always, I am offered the chance to accept this incredible Live Disease-Free program and the profound life-changing effects it brings. It is not true that getting older must mean getting sicker, right? Because she's anti-aging. She said, I am living proof of this, and we are a great cloud of witnesses. We are here on this earth only for a little while. I am deeply grateful to be refashioned in this life and the next. Gold is not destroyed by fire, only the impurities. Let your intention be crystal clear. And if you accept the guidance of the Live Disease-Free program, you will, in fact, heal. Talk about words of wisdom. Like, I had to share that with you. I just thought that was so powerful. My wellness champions are such inspirational. I call them the leaders, the trailblazers, and the forward thinkers, because they get it. They know, like, once they learn about like the parasite connection to MS and all chronic disease, they go, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. I've done everything except for treat parasites. And then they start to go down this journey, and they are infested, and they treat and treat and treat. And the Live Disease-Free diet is really the first step to recovery. It is the foundation, and that's what we're going to be talking today about, because it's so important. So make sure to put your questions in the comment box, and any kind of questions or concerns you have, like, I don't know if I can give up sugar. I know that's a hard one, because some of us have, it's like a drug addiction. The sugar is like a drug addiction. So this is a new student. She joined over the weekend, and I spoke with her. I always do an intro call with all of my new students, and she shared that she has been on the diet since Wednesday. And so this is not getting my feedback, not getting my critiquing. She's just following it to the best of her ability without getting any guidance. And she said yesterday she was able to dance, and she was able to stand on a stack of books. Amazing. And she's a writer, and she really needs this program, because she really wants her cognitive function back so that she can publish her books that she's writing, which is so incredibly exciting. So, and then a little disclaimer, she's so new at this. So she had such a glorious day. And then last night she ate supper, and then she went to bed, like not eating supper a few hours before, and then she had some nuts with her supper, and she didn't feel as well today, because when you go to bed on a full stomach and you have nuts and seeds you've eaten, the parasites are going to be feasting on that all night, and then you wake up in the morning and you feel like you were hit by a truck. So she's learning, but you get these little pockets of like, oh my gosh, I can dance, like, really? And she definitely has issues with her mobility, like with her function in her legs. So incredibly profound. So the whole rationale of why it's so important to go low carb, why the Live Disease-Free diet is so profoundly helpful for all chronic disease, including multiple sclerosis, is because with all autoimmune, all chronic diseases, there are chronic infections in the body. We call them parasites. They are microbes that live inside of us and cause us harm. They're freeloaders. They're eating our food. They produce a lot of toxins. They cause damage. Our immune system is trying to fight them, is trying to deal with them and the poisons they produce. And the war between our immune system and the parasites is called inflammation. And so as we make the enemy, the parasites, less active by not feeding them so much of their favorite food, which is their favorite source of energy is carbohydrates and simple sugars, then we start to notice our symptoms start to go down. The inflammation starts to go down. We start to feel a lot better with all of these symptoms I've shared. Not magic, just common sense, but unfortunately, when people don't know that they're infested with parasites, they don't know why this diet is so important. This is the most helpful diet you can follow when you want to recover from the parasites that cause chronic disease. So this diet will not kill the parasites. It will not remove them from the body, but it will make them more quiet. It will make them less active. So we still want to treat them. If we want to recover, we still want to treat the parasites. But it's very important to weaken them first, to make them more quiet, to support our immune system, like with the prep phase, with supporting our body and our immune system, because then we can tolerate the treatments better, we can treat more aggressively, and we can recover. And once we have restored balance to the microbes that live in our body, yes, we can have a few more carbohydrates as far as fruits and complex carbs, but that is only when you have decreased the burden of parasites well enough that you feel amazing, right? And one little golden nugget I want to give you right now is that, if you're recovering from chronic disease, like serious, like MS, Parkinson's, PLS, ALS, autoimmune disease, it's really important once you feel like you have fully recovered, don't just quit treating cold turkey, because if you have had disease, you have had a parasitic infestation, and one worm can literally lay 200,000 eggs in a day. So we've been dealing with this parasitic infestation for years. It always comes to this tipping point where our immune system cannot deal with it anymore. And that's when we really end up with these flares, exacerbations of our symptoms. But if we are basically feeling symptom-free and we just quit treating, then we run the risk of, if there are eggs and larvae still inside of us, they can hatch, they can start reproducing. And so that's why it's better to stretch it out. Instead of treating once a month, then it's once every 2 months, then it's once every 3 months, then it's once every 4 months. Maybe you're treating 3 times a year. Maybe you're treating twice a year, right? There's no harm in doing an MRI if your doctor wants to do one, to just make sure, because these parasites not only cause lesions, but they also cause tumors. So just want to make sure you got them all. Really want to make sure you've treated well. For myself, with my history of multiple sclerosis, plus I have a lot of beautiful animals in my life, I do treat at least 3 times a year. Really important. The whole rationale of why this diet works so well, why you can notice such significant symptom improvements in as little as 1 or 2 weeks, is because you are literally decreasing inflammation. You are naturally supporting immune modulation. So incredibly powerful, without a drug, without any special supplement, like just with diet, right? That is the key. So I'm going to go over some core guidelines and some of the exact carb targets, like where we want to target the carbohydrates, and also some different meal ideas, and just fine tuning like hidden setbacks, things that would hold us back. And then I shared the outcomes of the students. And I'll be talking about like kind of what is helpful for a few days, like what I eat for different meals. So with respect to the guidelines for the Live Disease-Free diet, you can find a really lovely 3-minute short video about the diet guidelines right on our website, livediseasefree.com, in the main menu under Research. Then click on Live Disease-Free Diet Guidelines, and there's a cheat sheet that you can print off. So I'm not going to go over the cheat sheet because it's really clear. It's kind of a waste of time for me to talk about it. If you have questions, you can go ahead and look at it and send questions in. But basically, this Live Disease-Free diet is a little lower carb than paleo. It is a little higher carbohydrate than keto diet, but it is also dairy-free. So in keto, you can have dairy. We're only having butter. We're not having other dairy because The parasites, they will love the sugar that is in the dairy. So whether it's in goat milk or sheep milk or dairy milk, the milk sugar feeds the parasites. And there is something about the milk protein that a lot of people are sensitive to when they have parasites. So it's just the more simple you can start with the diet, the quicker you will notice symptom improvements, then the sooner you can start treating. So again, more vegetables than paleo, no dairy, and it will be lower carb than keto. And we probably have a lot more vegetables also than the keto diet. The Live Disease-Free diet is dairy-free, it is grain-free, it is sugar-free, alcohol-free, caffeine-free. So what can we eat? We can eat lots of low carb. There's a huge variety of low carb vegetables that we can have. We can steam them. We can oven roast them, saute, stir fry. We can have all of the beautiful, delicious herbs and spices as long as they do not have fillers and sugar added to them. We can have moderate amounts of protein with every meal to maintain our muscle mass. And we can also have enough healthy fat to maintain our weight. So at least 4 tablespoons or more of healthy fat with each meal. It can be butter, it can be ghee, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. Those would be some of the main ones that would be really healthy and give us energy. MCT oil, a good quality MCT oil, will also work. So again, dairy-free, sugar-free, grain-free, caffeine-free, and alcohol-free. And so we are eating foods that are really high in nutrition, in vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients and fiber to promote the growth of health-promoting microbes that we want to reestablish. And we're having moderate animal protein and enough healthy fat to maintain our weight. If we skip a meal, if we skip snacks, it's really easy to lose weight. That's why it's very important to plan ahead, to batch cook, to have extra food in the fridge of what you can eat. And then that way you can grab meals quickly. It's not going to take a lot of time. And you're not going to be like opening the fridge and going, what am I supposed to eat? I don't know what I'm supposed to eat. I'm starving to death. There's nothing to eat. And then you grab a handful of nuts and it'll make you feel terrible because they're higher in carbs and they're harder to digest. So being prepared is really, this diet is really simple. It's really easy. You can prepare food really quickly. But instead of cooking 2 pieces of chicken, just cook a whole chicken. Or if it's for a family, maybe cook 2 or 3 chickens, depending on how big your family is, or a bigger roast. And that way you'll have maybe 1 or 2 extra meals. You might have lunch for the next day and you might have another meal for supper. And maybe make a bigger salad. That way you have a bigger salad that you can eat over 2 or 3 days. After that, it starts to turn brown, so that's not good. But within a couple days, 3 days at the most, it will be fine. If you're steaming vegetables, if you're making a stir fry, like when I used to teach, this was after MS, and I was like, before I was full-time coaching, I was a teacher in our local school district, and I would pack leftovers from supper. And it's funny because I don't know why, that's just, I guess, how God made me, but I'm always kind of like ahead of the pack. So I was packing around filtered water when I was in university before anybody else was drinking filtered water. And they'd be like, what is in your jug? Like, what are you carrying around? Oh, it's filtered water. Why would you carry filtered water? And now everybody filters their water. And so with meals, like a lot of people would eat sandwiches, and I would take leftovers from whatever supper we had. I would pack them in like glass containers with a lid on top. And I would have all kinds of different snacks and food, and I'd carry it in a bag, and people would be like, oh, wow, that looks good. And actually my son would do that at work, and he's in the trades, and he would sit down with this huge lunchbox with all this delicious food when he was living on his own, because he was used to this kind of way of eating. And all the guys were drooling over all the food. And it's kind of like, it's simple when you cook a little bit extra. And now a lot of people are not eating sandwiches with every meal or with lunches because it's really boring, and people are sick of eating bread and sandwich meat. And so a lot of people are eating leftovers, but it can be that simple. Like, you just cook a little extra, And then when you're doing dishes, just put it in some different containers. And then that way you have your lunch for the next day. Whether you're at home, like so for myself, I work from home and I can just go down to the fridge and I know there's always meat there. There's salad, there's different vegetables. So I can just grab things, throw it on a plate, bring it upstairs and just keep working while I'm eating, or just take 5 or 10 minutes to eat. That's the wise way to do it. You should really just take a break. But that way, it's a no-brainer. And if you can't afford to lose weight, you have to have food prepared so you won't lose weight. It's really easy to lose weight. This diet is very satisfying. When you have lots of healthy fat and you have protein, your blood sugar will stay more steady and you'll feel very satisfied. So then you might think, oh, I'm not really that hungry. I'll just skip a meal. You'll lose weight. So just make sure that you understand that. Ideally, we want to be below 50 total grams of carbs per day, and it's total, not net. But the sweet spot where people go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how much better I feel, is between 30 to 40 total grams of carbs per day. How do we measure that? You can go to the Chronometer app, which is a free app on your phone, and just simply go to that, download that app on your phone. And on a day when you're not as busy, just type in what you're eating. Make sure to set the Chronometer app to measure the total grams of carbs, not the net grams of carbs. Then you can input what you've eaten and it will tell you if you are in that target zone of 30 to 40 total grams of carbs per day. If you really want to test this, then eat in lower carbs, like closer to the 30, and see how much improvement you have with just getting the carbs down that low. We are working up to 9 to 13 servings of vegetables per day, low carb, so that it is quite challenging to keep your total carbs between 30 to 40. Some of us cannot eat that many vegetables. We're not used to, number one, we're not used to eating vegetables, period. Number two, we might feel nauseous and sick and we're just like, Pam, I eat like a sparrow. I can't eat that many vegetables. Well, just start eating like this and eat your vegetables that are low carb with no sugar, no sauces, no cheese, and your appetite will start to come back, especially as you are making sure you're having daily bowel movements. You might need to take a binder to bind some of the toxins. So you're starting to open up the detox pathways and you're not feeding the parasites and the inflammation starts going down. You will start to notice that your appetite comes back. And just make sure to add lots of healthy fat. Again, at least 4 tablespoons with every meal. You might need more. And if you work in construction, maybe you're in the trades, then maybe eat 4 meals a day. That's totally fine. And you can have, so for women, we have about 3 to 4 ounces of animal protein. And for men, it's about 4 to 6 ounces of animal protein. If you eat a lot of meat with a meal, a lot of fish, chicken, beef, whatever, your excess protein can be converted to glucose, which is sugar, which will circulate through your body and feed the parasites. So eating large amounts of meat, you think, well, that should be fine because I'm not eating carbs. Well, no, your body will change that to sugar and you will feel horrible when you have a lot of parasites. So that's why it's important not to eat large amounts of meat and not to eat, like, to get your carbs low enough. And if you need the extra calories, you increase the fat calories, not the protein calories and not the carbohydrate calories. So again, it's total grams of carbs, not net grams of carbs. And we are working up to 9 to 13 servings of vegetables per day that are low carb. They're on the cheat sheet. And so how you can also get into the target zone is having like several servings of the leafy green vegetables and not just like, don't have like 3 cups of Brussels sprouts because that will be quite high in carbs. So cabbage and Brussels sprouts are vegetables we can eat, but we have just like a moderate serving, maybe half a cup of them. And things like carrots and avocados and tomatoes and peppers, they are all higher in natural sugars and carbohydrates, so they would be a garnish on a big salad. We would not have a serving of carrots or peppers or tomatoes or avocados. Again, maybe like a slice or 2 of avocado on a large salad. Avocados are super healthy. They do have healthy fat in them, but the problem is they also have a significant amount of carbohydrates. So if you're having one or even a half an avocado, it can use up many of your calories from carbohydrates, the grams of it can really use up a lot of your carbs for the day. The avocado and the peppers and the tomatoes and the carrots. So be careful with those. And nuts and seeds are hard to digest. So make sure that if you're going to have them, have just the specific ones that are on the shopping list. Have a very small amount, maybe mid-morning, possibly mid-afternoon. So if you're improving and you have a couple of small servings of nuts during the day, that's fine. But if you're not improving, some people take the nuts and seeds out, and that really helps a lot. They start to really improve then. So don't be afraid to kind of play around with things. Fruit is super healthy in moderate amounts, but the sugar in fruit will feed the parasites also. So we will have a very small serving of fruit first thing in the morning, 30 minutes before other foods, so that it digests well and it's not going to ferment, which means that the parasites are actually feeding off of the fruit sugar. And this will all change once you treat the parasites well, once you're out of the danger zone, once the parasites are no longer causing neurological disability, right? It's really important. We want to protect our mobility. We want to protect our cognitive function. And so we want to make them more quiet, and we want to treat them as quickly as possible. So again, measure the total grams of carbs, not the net grams of carbs. With respect to drinks, water is your friend. Water is so good. So somebody that just joined, she was like, I don't drink a lot of water. I don't really like water. Trust me, if you start to develop good habits, your taste buds will change and you will love water. Have filtered water. If you don't drink a lot of water, just set your timer on your phone so that every hour you're taking a big mouthful or two, or every 45 minutes you're taking a couple of big gulps of water. And just, kind of plan it out during the day. Well, I want to have this many glasses of water. I want to drink this much per hour. So then just break it down into smaller amounts so you don't have to guzzle a whole glass if you're not used to it. But water is so incredibly important. I wouldn't drink high alkaline water all the time because it could interfere with mineral absorption. I would just have water as close to its natural state as possible that has been filtered. But we would avoid all caffeine because caffeine will stimulate the parasites. We don't want to stimulate them. We want them quiet. We want to make them as quiet as possible. And then unsweetened, so caffeine-free teas are fine, but we would not have decaffeinated because it still would have caffeine in it. So decaf coffee, decaf teas, they still have some caffeine, and some of these worms and parasites are so small we can't see them. So they can still be stimulated by a small amount of caffeine. So just get the caffeine out of your diet. So we can have sparkling water. My favorite is just the plain like just San Pellegrino or Perrier, just plain water with fresh lemon or fresh lime in it. Don't drink it all day because lemon juice and lime juice are fairly high in sugar. You'd be surprised because you think that they're so sour that there's no sugar in them. But when you look at the amount of sugar in lemon juice, don't drink it all day in a glass of water because number one, the sugar content, number two, the acid is hard on your enamel. But if you're out socializing, having some fresh lemon juice or lime juice in your sparkling water is great. And now they have these really nice little machines that can just bubble the water in your home. I like that. I don't even like the bubblies. They taste artificial to me. And of course they call it natural flavoring, but I know when I was back in university, we would mix different chemicals together and make banana, pineapple flavor. So carbon is natural. It's from the ground. It's like an element, but does that mean it comes from a strawberry plant? No. So your best bet is just to have like sparkling water with fresh lemon, fresh lime. You could put mint leaves in too, which is delicious. You can actually chill different herb teas, which are very, very lovely. Just avoid the teas that taste sweet on your tongue, whether they have berries or apple. Don't have those while you're recovering. Just have teas that do not taste sweet at all. Really important. Also be careful with bone broth. Bone broth is so healthy, but when you have microbes or parasites like Borrelia, which is the bacteria that causes Lyme disease, it thrives on collagen. So please just stay away from collagen supplements. And if you're having homemade soup and you're having it occasionally, but with everything you're doing on the diet, you're improving, then it's totally fine to have homemade soup. But if you're eating homemade soup regularly and you're not getting any better, I would just omit it, because we've had students that, because of the nutrients in the bone broth, whether it's from chicken or beef or whatever, it will feed different infections in our body, which is really sad, but it's true just for short term. And also just remember that like a bowl of soup with low carb vegetables and fat and meat is not going to be enough calories for you for a meal. You will lose weight if you just have a bowl of soup. So it's really important to, if you have a bowl of soup, it's kind of like a side dish, and have more of the other low carb vegetables also. With respect to fruit, I mentioned like half a green apple or a very small kiwi, or maybe like a quarter of a cup or an eighth of a cup of berries. It's kind of like a flavor. Some people just don't even bother with fruit because they just want to really make the parasites as quiet as possible. It's pretty exciting when you can not use your cane just with a diet. Like you might want to give up fruit. You can still take vitamin C, natural vitamin C from camu, which is a really tart berry, or there's ascorbic acid, non-GMO ascorbic acid. So you can still take vitamin C, but just be careful with fruit sugar, because the parasites love sugar, whether it comes from fruit or cookies or juice. It loves sugar, period. They love sugar, period. All right, with respect to fermentation, like fermented foods, the only types of fermented foods that we would have would be things like raw sauerkraut when we are recovering. We avoid the kimchi, the kefir, all of those different like yogurts, all of that. We would omit that because a lot of them do carry yeast, and they carry, like some of them are dairy, and we are avoiding dairy. So you want to have something that is safe, and that would be especially the homemade raw sauerkraut. It can be a really great source of, especially when it's a wild ferment where you allow all the natural occurring different microbes that are on the vegetables to multiply. So you get this diversity, and that's really important. So with respect to the fats, having at least 40 total grams of fat with each meal. And we talked about butter, ghee, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, are just a few examples, MCT oil. And things like, just be careful if you do use like olives, check to see what they're soaked in, and make sure to consider the carbohydrates in olives. Beef tallow is fine, and the palm oil that is like in the health food store that is not saturated. It is saturated fat, but it's not heated. So any of those that are more natural saturated fats that have not been heated, that do not have trans fats, are absolutely fine. Try to get always organic, extra virgin, so it has not been heated. And with respect to nuts and seeds, be really careful because they're super addictive, and we want to avoid things like pistachio and peanuts because they tend to have a higher mold count. But just don't have any nuts and seeds after supper, because when you sleep, your digestion slows down. And if you've had nuts for a snack before bed, those nuts are going to be, and whatever food you've eaten just before bed is going to be a feast for the parasites that live in you, and you're going to feel worse because they're going to be eating and producing poisons all night, and you will wake up feeling like you were hit by a truck. So be really careful with nuts and seeds, and we avoid nut butters. At the start, we did not, but now we're just seeing, it's something that it's really challenging to keep your carbs down to 30 to 40 total grams of carbs per day. And so why have nut butter? They might have added some sugar to it. And if that holds you back, it's just not, like, people just don't want to feel like this anymore. They just want to get moving forward. So keep it simple. When you're buying meat, make sure it's like real meat that hasn't been soaked in a brine. It hasn't been ground up and put into sausages by people. You can buy like plain ground pork or beef or chicken or turkey. You can make your own sausages. You can freeze a big batch. That is totally fine, but just make sure that you avoid, like even ham and bacon are notorious for having sugar added, and the small amount of sugar in your ham or your bacon can totally set off neurological symptoms. It can. I've seen that in students. The Chronometer app is really helpful. You don't have to use it every day, but just use it when you feel like you just want to make sure that you're in the target zone for a day or two here or there. And like things like cabbage, although we eat it, I mentioned that it's pretty high in carbs. So don't just have like 2.5 cups of cabbage. Just maybe have a sprinkle of shredded cabbage on your low carb lettuce salad, or have a small amount of cabbage, just a small serving, like a 1/4 cup, a 1/3 cup kind of thing on the side. You can look at the USDA website, and that will tell you the total grams of carbs in different vegetables. And also the Chronometer app is based on the USDA. That's why it's accurate, and that's why we recommend it. So again, be very careful with protein. Too much protein will make your blood sugar go up, which will feed the parasites, which will make you feel horrible. All right, with respect to sweeteners, it's so wise to not have any sweeteners, like no alcohol sugars, no stevia, because those different sweeteners, they will still cause us to have cravings for sugar. And you want to get rid of your cravings for sugar. It can go away. I honestly haven't had cravings for sugar for years and years and years. I honestly don't have desserts. I don't like desserts. In the summer, I might have a peach or two for sure, but I don't eat desserts. I don't like them. I don't drink alcohol. I don't have caffeine. And it's not because I can't. It's because I don't want to, because it doesn't taste good to me. And with the history that I had, being told that you're going to be completely disabled, I probably would have been dead by now if I hadn't have learned about these parasites. Again, by the grace of God, I'm alive today. And I have passed a lot of parasites, but I have so much to live for, and I love what I'm eating. I don't feel deprived at all. I feel sad for people that are so addicted to these foods. Like, we were just out at a wedding, and we were in this continental breakfast in the hotel we stayed at, and it's not even food what they're serving anymore. It's just like total garbage, and people eat that, and it's just really shocking to me, because I don't eat out hardly, because I get disappointed. Like, the meals right now, they're quite expensive, and sure, you can go to a nice restaurant, but otherwise you're spending a lot of money and it doesn't even taste very good, right? And you can eat a lot better at home. It is nice to have a break, but I don't know. Like, I just really like eating the way that we eat. Just make sure not to have spinach all the time. So the high oxalic acid can be harder on the thyroid. So rotate your vegetables. You get a variety of different nutrients, vitamins, minerals. It's all just common sense. Again, make sure to avoid all the sweeteners. Get rid of your sweet tooth so you're free, so you don't have, and even with the caffeine, when you've stopped that for a while, like, you'll be like, I don't have the ups and downs of energy. I don't have the ups and crashes. So it's really nice to have that. I mean, obviously, if you don't get enough sleep, you might feel tired, which is normal, but otherwise you're not going to have the ups and downs of energy, and the cravings are gone. If you are just vegan and you're only eating plant-based, so what we have found, it's virtually impossible to get all of your complete protein, to maintain your muscle mass. All of that is very challenging if you are taking out all the beans and legumes and all of the grains, right? But if you are vegan, then just make sure to avoid all of the sugars. Like, be really careful with fruit, because fruit is delicious and it's nutritious, but it has a lot of sugar and it will feed the parasites. And there is something about, if you are not very sick, you have some parasites, to make sure to mill your own grain, because the nutrients in freshly milled grain have vitamins and minerals, but they also have some nutrients that really support the immune system, right? So like all the people that we work with, they go off of the grains for a short period of time until they're better. And then they can start reintroducing. They might start with gluten-free, then test it. And then eventually they could, but I would really encourage them to do like either access the freshly milled grain. All of these things start to oxidize when they're exposed to air. So the more quickly that you can make something out of when you just mill it, and there's a lot of research behind all of that, which is really awesome. So that could be part of why we're so sick, is because most of us have been living on this cardboard white flour that has some synthetic vitamins added back, and then we have all these parasites that will feed off of that cardboard that we're eating. So just be really careful that being on a vegan diet or a completely plant-based diet, it is really challenging to follow this diet. And we work with vegetarians, and they will have things like eggs and fish and chicken. And so they're still eating mostly plant-based with a little bit of animal protein, and they're able to maintain their weight. We would not fast while we're following this diet, because like what happens is when you're fasting, you don't eat for hours and hours, and then you eat a lot, right? You eat a lot more calories, and that's going to feed the parasites. So we're literally just keeping your blood sugar as steady as possible, and for sustained energy instead of the ups and downs. Once you have recovered, if you would like to do like a 3-day fast, there's nothing wrong with that, right? As long as you're making sure you replenish electrolytes and you're doing it wisely, that's totally fine. But during when you're infested with parasites, it's not really any benefit to starve yourself for 12 hours and then eat a bunch. The parasites are not going to leave your body until you treat them. So that's why you will notice more symptom improvements if you just keep your blood sugar steady and don't have the ups and downs of it. If you have any type of inflammatory bowel disease, very important that you cook the vegetables that agree with you. So do not eat raw. If you have diarrhea, irritable bowel, celiac, colitis, Crohn's disease, any of these inflammatory disease processes, make sure to cook the vegetables that agree with you from that list, the cheat sheet list. And it's fine to oven roast, stir fry, steam, and saute the vegetables that agree with you from that list. And you'll notice that you will, like if you do that, you'll notice that your inflammation will start going down in your gut, and you will start feeling a lot better. And then as you start treating the parasites, then you can start to reintroduce these vegetables again. Raw, you'll be able to tolerate them then. But please listen to your body, and please do not eat a lot of raw vegetables if that does not agree with you. Listen to your body. And if you're sensitive, like you might be sensitive to kale, cooked kale, because when we have leaky gut, then things go into our blood and our immune system reacts to it and think it's the enemy and will react to that. So just whatever you feel doesn't agree with you, if it's eggs or whatever, just avoid those foods as you are going through recovery. If it's an anaphylactic reaction, never test that on your own. Make sure that you always work with a doctor to make sure that your anaphylactic reaction is gone. So the Chronometer app is a free app you can put on your phone to track your total grams of carbs, and just make sure you record what you're eating and how you're feeling. Because a lot of times it's just like this new student, she's like, yeah, yesterday I was dancing and I was standing on a stack of books, and today I don't feel as well. But she said, I think it's because I ate supper at 9 o'clock at night and I put walnuts in mixed with my salad and the brisket. So number one, too, like brisket, did you make it yourself? Do you know what seasoning is in it? We make our own brisket and we know exactly what the seasoning is. Be very careful with seasoning mixes. Like I make my own seasoning mix. You can find all kinds of recipes online, and you can make a batch for a chicken rub, for taco seasoning, for any type of rub that you want to put on meat. So make sure that it's clean, that it doesn't have any fillers, sugars, etc. in it. Where can I find the MS Diet recipes? So there are, if you are a student, there is a meal planning toolkit, and you'll find all kinds of meal ideas. So like we can eat all of the Mexican foods like the spices and herbs from that. So chicken dishes, avoid the rice for now, but different vegetables and salads, and the chicken dishes where you're having all of the cilantro and the lime, all of that is very, very delicious. You can have the different Greek spices, Italian herbs. So there's lots of different recipes that you can have, like any type of meat and any kind of the spices and herbs. Fresh is always better. So if there are certain things, like if you look at the meal planning toolkit and you go, oh, we haven't had this recipe or we haven't had this dish for a long time, you can use your own recipe and make different swaps. Like for number one, just omit cheese if you have to, like if it's part of the recipe. If you have a family and you want to get well, but they're not all on board, then just when you're barbecuing meat, just put the barbecue sauce on theirs and not on yours. What I like to do is to take a stable oil like avocado oil, and I put a whole bunch of herbs. I never measure it. I'll put like onion powder and salt and pepper and some dried thyme and I like thyme and rosemary together a lot, and maybe some paprika and some onion powder, and I'll mix that all in with the olive oil, and I'll baste that when the meat is getting closer to being done. Sometimes even just like steaks, when you barbecue them, just barbecuing them, when you take it off, just melt some butter on top of the steaks and then just put some really finely chopped up garlic on top of the steak with some salt and pepper is really good. And hamburgers are always good. Meatloafs are good. Shish kebabs you can make. We're going to be going into the holidays again soon, and I do have a resource page for holiday meal ideas that you can make there's ideas for what to drink, for appies, for meals. But for us, it's really simple. It's like right now we have all of the local produce from the local farms, which is so delicious. So we always have big salads. It can be various. It can be Caesar salad, it can be Greek salad, it can be just leaf salad, with different whatever vegetables we have in the fridge to kind of clean up the fridge. We'll do a lot of steamed vegetables, or oven roasted is really nice too, where you just turn the heater up or the oven up to like 400 degrees and you just cut the cauliflower broccoli into smaller pieces, baste it with a little bit of oil and some salt and pepper. The zest of lemon or lime is really good to add on at the end, or a little bit of garlic on top is delicious too. So oven roasted vegetables are so lovely. Steamed vegetables, stir fry vegetables are great also. And then there's all these lovely curries, right? And we love different curries too. So you can, add some of that onto your meats. You can add it into your vegetable dishes. Be careful with soups, just that you know what's in them, and make sure that you don't have too much of it and have other side dishes with it so that you get enough calories so you don't lose weight. But the ideas are endless. It can be, chicken in the oven. It can be chicken on the Traeger. It can be chicken pieces on the barbecue. So we do a lot of barbecuing. We do have an old Traeger we got from our kids that we use periodically. I don't really like the smoking very much, except for the smoke flavor. The Traeger chickens are actually really nice. We put a rub on it and it kind of locks in the moisture, so they're quite moist when you cook them. But I'm just trying to think. Tacos are really great. Taco salads, right? You can just do really like lovely, browning up the hamburger meat, adding quite a bit of onion to it. And so that makes it more moist, and then adding different spices. I don't even measure. It's like as you do this more and more, you just kind of go by, okay, there's that much meat. I'll put about this much salt and pepper, and it's usually paprika and chili powder and cumin. I like to add oregano. You can add hot chili peppers to make it kind of spicy and hot, depending if you have kids there or not. But, tacos and fajitas, so chicken fajita, you can marinate chicken breasts in the lovely flavors of even just like some lemon juice and the coriander, like all the same Mexican spices. You can find all these recipes online. And just look for recipes that have 5 out of 5, so that you know that you're getting recipes that are really reviewed by a lot of people and really liked by a lot of people. So you can make the fajita, you can use lettuce wraps instead of the tortilla wraps, which works really well. You can find things like mustard in the health food store that has apple cider vinegar instead of regular vinegar in it. So that's another option. Mayonnaise is a really great staple. You can use mayonnaise to make a spicy mayo that you would dip meat in. You could use mayonnaise to also make like the ranch dressing with vegetables, or creamy Caesar salad dressing, which is really delicious. You can add some anchovy paste or really make fine the anchovies and add that to it also. And a little bit of capers should be fine too. So there's lots of, chimichurri is another wonderful thing that you can add onto different types of meat. And you can look up recipes where it's just like oil, maybe a little bit of lemon or lime, possibly some apple cider vinegar and some herbs. And you pulse it in some kind of a blender, and it can make a really fresh little add on to your meat. So between chimichurri or mayonnaise, you're getting extra fat, which tastes absolutely delicious. So there's so many different options, different ideas. What I like to eat, for example, is in the morning, I love greens. I've just kind of gotten used to that. So I'll have arugula. We still have the local farms, and I get a big bag of arugula, which is delicious. So I'll wash some arugula, and then I'll have a couple of eggs. I like putting lots of basil leaves, fresh basil leaves on my eggs. It tastes really good. I like it. And then I throw on a big tablespoon, or bigger, I would say probably like a third of a cup of raw sauerkraut, and extra virgin olive oil, and it keeps me full for several hours. And then I will usually have a very small handful of nuts, so usually pecans and filberts, just a small, they're raw, they're from Costco. We just buy bags of them and keep them in the freezer and just take a little bit out at a time. And then at lunch, I'll have a big salad with some leftover meat from the night before. And of course, I'm careful with with carrots, tomatoes, peppers, right? And avocados. They're just garnishes on a salad. You can add fresh herbs onto your salad. You can add like we just did chicken thighs last night on the barbecue, the boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I like them kind of cooked more because I don't like the fat in chicken, but they're delicious. And having that with salad, and put lots of extra virgin olive oil, and I scoop it up, right? And you can have a different vegetable too if you want. You could eat 4 meals a day versus 3. And then you can have mayonnaise with the vegetables for a snack, which is really good. I really like making a spicy mayo, and you can get these red chili sauce, I think it's called sambal, that does not have any vinegar or anything in it, and it's just spicy, hot. Or you can just put red pepper flakes in it, and you can make things taste really good for a dip, even for vegetables. I really like having hot, spicy mayo for meat or for vegetables. It's delicious. Maybe you just want to do a ranch mayonnaise, and that gives you the extra fat calories. So that as you're decreasing the calories from carbohydrates, you're increasing your fat calories. That way you maintain your weight. So at night, I usually for supper, I like to have at least a couple of different steamed vegetables. If I'm still hungry, I'll have some more leafy greens with some olive oil again, and scoop up the olive oil off the plate. It's expensive and it's calories, and I want to keep my weight up. So that kind of gives you an idea. We're kind of creatures of habit, and we just kind of do things as long as we're getting a variety of vegetables. So I'll go once a week, and we'll pick up a whole fridge full of vegetables. They're quite shocked at how many vegetables. They're like, "Oh, are you having a lot of people over?" We're like, "No, this is what we eat every week." And there's been years like this. So with decreasing your carbs significantly with the Live Disease-Free diet, getting down to the 30 to 40 total grams of carbs per day, and you can do that by finding our guidelines on livediseasefree.com. This is my gift to you. All right, make sure to go there and print off the cheat sheet and watch the 3-minute video, which is the guidelines. And if you want to find out more about meal ideas, I've got at least 2 or 3 videos there that I talk about more in depth about what I eat for different meals. And I give you lots and lots of ideas there. So take that, implement it, report back to me that you're noticing symptom improvements. Please do that. And please give that gift to yourself. This is through years and years of working with thousands of students all over the world. We know what works. I know it will work for you. But then when you get to the place, okay, this was a great start, Pam, but I want to get these parasites out of me. I do not want to live another day with them in me. I like that one student, she's like dreaming about, like she can envision them. You can like, once you know you have them, you can literally feel, especially if they're bigger ones, you can actually feel them moving inside of you. And when they are gone, that is completely gone. So make sure that if you're at the place where you feel that you're dealing with parasites and you need a proven plan, watch my masterclass training. It tells you all the steps we take to recover, how we get energy tested, how we build a treatment plan, how we first of all get ready to treat by the diet and supporting the body. All the steps are there. I don't hide anything. And if you have a practitioner that will help you, wonderful. If you don't have a practitioner that will help you, reach out to us, because I would be honored to help you and support you. We have wellness champions joining every week, and it's really exciting to hear. It never gets old. Every Tuesday, I have all of these amazing successes come in. It's like totally miraculous. But we just have to reach more people. We have to help more people. We have to help the practitioners to know this. So make sure to get the support you need. You do not have to live like this, but you have to take a different path. You have to treat the root cause. And diet is the first step to recovery. So if you found this helpful, please like and share so that other people will also have this information. They'll hear about it. And otherwise, I will be back next week, and we will talk to you next week. Take care and bye-bye for now.